Okay, so officially welcome, John, to
Yeah, hi, John.
the session. Thanks for joining us, and let's have a little look at today's quote, and then the lesson, and then we'll get into the text, shall we?
Yeah.
Okay. So just going to share my screen. Where's it gone? Sorry. Curse has disappeared. Okay, it's going to be down the bottom somewhere. Where are we? There we go. All right. So, if you can see that.
Yep, got it.
Okay. So, have a little read of the quote. This is actually Gandhi's original quote. It's been
Yes,
translated as,
I
"We must
saw that.
become the
Yeah.
change we want to see in the world," which he never actually said. That's how it goes with quotes. People say, "Oh no, he
Yeah.
said that."
If we could change ourselves, the tendencies in the world would also change. As a man changes his own nature, so does the attitude of the world change towards him. We need not wait to see what others do.
Any thoughts on that?
The first sentence is, if we could change ourselves, the world would also change. So it's saying that change ourselves, the world will by de facto also change. As a man changes his own nature, so does the attitude of the world change towards him, which is kind of, in Course in Miracles terms, is interesting because then we're kind of accepting there is a world. Saying,
Well, we use the word world, loosely. I mean, what is the world anyway? The world sort of is a reference to the external, external world we seem to live in, but it's actually our perception of an external reality.
okay, so
Referring to.
yes, okay. So our perceived external reality, our perceived external world changes towards us. Yeah, I get that because I think as we become aligned with spirit, the external world, the illusion, gets easier.
It's easier to deal with, and the truth is, as you change your mind, you change your perception, and your perception is what makes up your world.
Yeah,
perception is fundamental to the external world. Without perception, there's no world.
yeah.
So you change your mind, you change your world. I mean, it is literally true from a quantum mechanical, quantum physics point of view as well. Perception changes whatever you're observing. So you change your mind, you change your state, the state of the observer. That changes the world, even though things might not. On the physical level, you go, well, the wall's still the wall. I still see the wall, or I still see the chair. But how I see it, my experience of it, can radically change. As we've done all these exercises, mind training exercises with tables and chairs and ordinary objects. Like, okay, so your perception of that can change completely. You have a very different experience of the same thing: the table, the chair, the wall, whatever.
I think
Depending on how you see it.
I think also the second statement is evidenced by things happening for us rather than against us. Something pops up and and it may be something we haven't thought about, but suddenly we find that somebody else has thought about it for us, and all we need to do is agree with it.
Yeah, in the Vedas, they have two signs. I say there's two signs of a spiritual awakening happening. First one is a lack of worry, not worrying about life anymore. Just letting that constant anxiety go. And the second one is synchronicity, as Carl Jung had put it. In course terms, that's miracles.
Yeah.
Where beneficial things happen. People, places, events, circumstances seem to be supporting you, seem to align more. It's not to say you never get challenges, but even if you get a challenge, you can kind of, there's a solution. I can flow with the challenge. So the attitude of the world seems to change toward him. That's what he's trying to say. This synchronicity factor starts coming in more and more. I think Einstein said quite famously, there's only two ways of viewing the world. You're either going to view the world as your friend or as your enemy. It's one or the other. So see it as your friend, and then you invite friendly things. Even obstacles, can seem to be you can translate them into opportunities.
Yeah.
Growth. So this is really the miracle worker's skill. Okay, whatever the obstacle is, the difficulty, the challenge, I see it as an opportunity for growth. So it's always an opportunity to let go of another part of my ego. So that's foundational. But if you do that consistently, then on the level of form, things have this sort of way of working out. Even the obstacle can become part of an essential part of your awakening. So I mean, take my situation as an example, because it's useful to illustrate by I've been separated for 3 years, three years and 2 months now almost, from my family in the UK. And some people have said to me, "Wow, that's terrible, that's awful." I've kind of said, "Well, who's to say, really? You can't judge it and go, oh, that's awful," because in that process, there's been a lot of growth, spiritual growth. There's been a lot of awakening. I've put together this whole Art of Letting Go course, and now it looks like some really interesting stuff on the other side of my business is going to be happening in South Africa in the next month.
All right.
Yeah, so that group I mentioned to you, the guys interested in coming over and to Eswatini and maybe do a bit of a road show. And so then it's all perfect in its imperfection. I come here and just go with the flow of it instead of resisting, going, oh, this is terrible and this is awful. And that's the one thing I really was conscious of. There were times where I was like, you notice your ego wants to juice the situation and go into some kind of self-pity or woe is me, or this is not good, this is bad. And I've just really tried to steadfastly avoid that and go, no, it just is what it is. The situation is as it is. It's only my judgment on it that makes it good or bad. And so I'm going to be present and just do what I can do, every day, which is largely been, around this course and teaching it and learning myself. And in the process, if I think about 3 years ago, I think I've learned a lot, tremendous amount. A lot of growth, which then, is the point. So it's served my spiritual path and growth and prepared me to go back, as a better human being, a better partner, a better father, so that I can, do the job better next time, which is all perfect in its imperfection. So why would you resist that process when it's actually designed for your highest good, when the Holy Spirit is saying, no, giving you this time to do this inner work, so that when you return, it's a hero's journey, isn't it? When you return, you can return from the transformed state of mind.
Yeah, and I think we do need that time for the inner work as well. It's important.
It was in many ways a great blessing and benefit, although I didn't consciously design to be away for 3 years. Thought I might be away for 6 months. But it allowed me to really, okay, so I'm going to do this inner work. No distractions. I'm living essentially on my own as a bachelor again. So I can do a lot of spiritual work, and I can do a lot of this teaching. Hours, I mean, you've been in a lot of it, hours and hours and hours of teaching and training, and that does have an impact, no doubt. It's really deeply transformative in the mind. It's like a deep cleaning of the mind to help me free myself from some of those patterns that were there 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's what can you say? It's all, if the spiritual awakening is the goal, because that is really the only purpose of your life. That's why purpose and meaning are so important. Well, what is the purpose and the meaning that you assign to something? If you give it the correct meaning, then it's all good. Like the worst thing is a good thing, because it's helping you to awaken.
Yeah.
So you completely turn the tables on the ego, but you have to see the true purpose and accept that your purpose is not a worldly purpose. Your purpose is not to do anything in the world. Whatever the role might be. Be a good father, a good partner, be a breadwinner. We have all these roles that the world tries to assign to us. And although you can fulfill those, it's not to say you can't do them. The key thing is not to identify with them. Don't make that your identity. Oh, now this is who I am, because it's very temporary. It's very transient. It's going to change in a few years. And then what? I was listening to a program yesterday. My parents were watching, called The English Game. And this woman was saying, well, I since I got married, this was in the sort of late 1800s. So since I got married, all I wanted was, I'd been preparing to be a wife and a mother. And now I think she lost her baby. And so she said, I really don't know who I am anymore.
Yeah.
Which was symptomatic of, so many people. Okay, well, that was my form identity I was preparing for. Now I lost the baby, so who am I? I'm not a mother. And she wasn't even a mother. She was just preparing herself to be a mother. In her mind, she was already creating that identification. And then that gets taken away, and then it's like, well, who am I then? So you're not the role. You're nothing temporary, although you can play the role. In fact, you can play the role far better if you're detached from the role. It's a paradox, isn't it? You go, well, how's that? Surely you should get attached to the role and you would do it better, but that's not the case. I mean, we know from our own experience and observing other people, the more attached someone is to their role, generally, the harder it is for them. The more kind of grit and grind, and the more emotional pain and suffering that will come, because there are going to be difficulties and challenges. And in the end, that role is temporary. So it might last for a few years, maybe a decade, maybe two. Think of mothers. Okay, so you have a children, maybe that lasts 20 years. You have 3 kids, you do it in 20 years, then they leave home. And then what? Okay, I thought I was a mother. Well, now my kids are off doing their thing, they're working, they've got jobs, they've gone to university, whatever. And I'm no longer really that needed. They don't actually want mothering. They want to go and explore the world and be independent. And I'm kind of useful every now and then to say, yeah, Ma, I need some help. Usually money is a good reason why kids come back, isn't it? This kind of thing. But then they sort of feel, well, what's my purpose? Because if I identified so strongly with that purpose, now that's no longer really the main purpose. So Gandhi's pointing us to the inner change, to saying, do the inner work, change your own nature. Like, how are you thinking, how are you feeling about everyone and everything, and then the world will change towards you. You'll start to see things showing up in your reality, which is your world. And a lot of people go, well, this is all quite grandiose, but it's not, because he's just talking about your world. Saying you'll go and change wars in the Ukraine necessarily. Like, Gandhi did some pretty world-changing stuff within his domain in India. So it is possible if one man really gets this and activates others to get it. You start a movement, then a number of people changing their mind is powerful. But You don't have to. Just changing your own mind about yourself and then your world, that changes your world. And that's all that's required. You don't have to do anything more than that. And then be guided by that. So if you're guided to go somewhere, do something, meet people, if you're guided to go and do something like a Gandhi did or a Mandela did, then okay, that's your path, and follow the guidance. But for a lot of people, it's much more humble. It's just, okay, I'm just guided to be a more loving person, more generous, kinder to the people in my life, to try and be truly helpful to whoever shows up in my life. And that's a worthy purpose. There's nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong with that. So, and then it becomes very simple. I remember Sue battled with this. It's like, well, just in your daily life, just show up as the miracle worker, and just show up with intention to be truly helpful, and then your world changes. Your reality's changed. You become, an agent of positive change, transformation in the world on whatever level you do that. That might just be a few people, a few people's lives that you touch. And that's doesn't matter, because it's not the quantum that's important here. It's the quality. It's not quantity, it's quality that's important. It's not how many people you awaken. It's the quality of your own experience and the quality that you transmit to others. And we see that in these sessions. It's not quantity. There's not hundreds of people. It's just a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. These are the numbers. But it's the quality of the experience everyone's having. And I really enjoy that. It feels like we're going deeply into it. And there's some of the sessions you can sense like a shift. There's this spiritual energy coming in very powerfully, and that's the whole point. And then they might take that out into their world. It'll have ripple effects, on some level, because it goes into a person's social circle, their immediate circle, family and friends, and then social circle, and it ripples outwards. For instance, we might be doing a workshop at Findhorn this year, maybe not this year, I don't know. Well, we'll see. It needs to be discussed. But then that has waves. It ripples out into the whole society, and then from that workshop, maybe 20 or 30 people are profoundly affected, and then they go to their social circle, which is hundreds of people are now influenced, and so it spreads. Okay, so I just included Pierre's video again. If you haven't watched it, I recommend it.
Yeah, I started to watch that this morning. Yeah,
just really interesting. I think what I find most interesting about this video is she's been with the people who are supposedly super successful in our society.
Yeah.
These celebrities are held up as they've made it. They have success.
Yeah.
They're featured in all these tabloids and glossy magazines and so on. And a lot of people idolize them. Oh, I follow this actor. I follow Princess Diana. Certainly, I mean, people are like kind of hero worshipping. And so they've apparently made it in terms of the ego. And yet, if you scratch beneath that glossy veneer, all is not so well. And actually, in their minds, they haven't made it at all. They still feel deeply unworthy and unhappy with their lives, even though on the level of form, they have everything that most people would desire. Which really is just illustrative of this point that the ego strategies just don't work to make you happy, even when they succeed on the level of form. So why would you bother following them? Because that's all it can really hold out for you. Or success, fame, bright lights, glitz and glamour. A lot of people get attracted to that, and yet just look at the average experience of people who've actually done it, and they're not happy. In fact, they're often much unhappier than just an average person who's just living their life leading a pretty normal life. Like, and the unhappiness seems to get amplified by fame and money if you're not conscious.
Yeah.
Because the ego misuses those.
Yeah.
for for its purposes. So just a very interesting point, and another reason not to get tempted by the ego. Okay, so moving on to the lesson then. So I think let's just, because there's 5 of them, let's just go into the meat of the lesson. So read number 1.
Yeah, my meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. Since the thoughts of which I am aware do not mean anything, the world that pictures them can have no meaning. What is producing this world is insane, and so is what it produces. Reality is not insane, and I have real thoughts as well as insane ones. I can therefore see a real world if I look to my real thoughts as my guide for seeing. I'm pleased that last sentence is in there, because these 5 messages are about meaningless thoughts. The first time I read it, I read it in such a way that I was interpreting it as all my thoughts are meaningless. Of course, they're not, because I do also have thoughts that are in alignment with spirit. They're not insane. So if I look to them as my guide, I have a way forward.
Yeah, fortunately, otherwise we'd have no way out. The Holy Spirit, the remembrance of oneness, is what guides your thoughts in this world. So although the Holy Spirit can look at form and interpret a form situation, let's say a relationship with a person. So it seems to be another person, it's a relationship going on. None of that's true ultimately in absolute pure formless awareness. The Holy Spirit interprets it and says, okay, so your thoughts towards that person can be forgiving. So you're not going to hold anything against them. You're not going to hold any grievances. Your thoughts can be kind. You actually want to extend love to them, to be truly helpful. So these kinds of thoughts are your real thoughts. They are the Holy Spirit's, the awareness of oneness's interpretation of this world, which then guides you to true perception. Again, my guide for seeing. It's my guide for true perception, because it's not just the visual sense that he's talking about. And the world is really your experience. When we say the world, he's not referring to the whole world out there, and you're going to change the world in any grandiose sense. It's just your experience of an external reality. So the real world is the world that's seen with the Holy Spirit's eyes, with true perception. So you change your mind, you change your world, because you've changed your perception of it straight away, immediately. It took me quite a long time to realize that about the Course. So we still have this illusion of, well, there has to be some kind of grandiose, on a quantum level, like a quantity level. This has to be, some kind of world changing, like you have to do a Mandela or a Gandhi, or this kind of thing. And you really don't. They were extraordinary. They were kind of quite exceptional human beings. The impact they had. But you change your world the moment you change your perception. Simple as that. So just change your perception and you've changed the world, because the world lies in your perception. So again, he's emphasizing that with these lessons. It's all in your perception of it, which is your thoughts. So he's emphasizing thought. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. If I have meaningless thoughts, then what can they show me but a meaningless world?
Yeah.
Because the thought comes first. Remember, that's what he emphasizes. It's not the external world that's causing your perception. It's your thoughts, your beliefs, that are causing your perception. Because that influences how you perceive everything. It's the default program, the filter through which you interpret all of your life experiences. So if you
Yes.
think that you're unworthy, like, one of these famous actors, Princess Di, for instance, think that you're unworthy, fundamentally, it doesn't matter how much you do on the level of form, how much attention you get, how much praise, you will still believe that you're unworthy, because that's your belief.
Mm.
You will interpret all of, even if you're getting approval, praise, love, you'll go, oh, no, that's not really justified. They're making a mistake. You'll interpret it through that lens. So you'll never truly accept it, and that belief in unworthiness will haunt you.
Mm.
And really, it's just meaningless. The belief that you're unworthy is meaningless. And my meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. I'm coming from the flop perspective, the fundamental life operating program of the ego. It's showing me a meaningless world, because it's not a true belief.
Yeah.
Okay, happy with number one?
Yep.
Number
Yep.
11?
I'm good with that.
12?
Next one. I am upset because I see a meaningless world. Insane thoughts are upsetting. They produce a world in which there is no order anywhere. Only chaos rules a world that represents chaotic thinking. Chaos has no laws. I cannot live in peace in such a world. I am grateful that this world is not real, and that I need not see it at all unless I choose to value it. And I do not choose to value what is totally insane and has no meaning. Of course, to be able to do that, we have to, first of all, recognize what is totally insane and has no meaning, and avert any ego temptation to go back and believe that it is worthwhile, which is constant vigilance.
Yeah.
And non-partial acceptance. The rigorousness of, if it's truth, it's truth. It's not partially true.
Yeah.
Or not in this. Not make exceptions.
So keeping your mind in that clear state above the battleground, as Jesus terms it. Reminding yourself, look, none of it's real. So whatever I perceive here is not reality.
Yeah.
And the problem comes in if I choose to value it.
Yeah.
Unless I choose to value it. So the value that you attach to it, it's the meaning that you give it, now has the power to hurt you.
Yeah.
But if you don't choose to value it, then you can be free of it, even while you engage in it. So this is, again, the paradox of it. You living in the world, you can actually engage pretty effectively in the world without making it real in your mind. And people might say, but how's that possible? But all things are possible to God. He's given us a way. This awareness translates into our language. This awareness allows us to interpret the world in a certain way. And that interpretation, the Holy Spirit's interpretation, the awareness of oneness, allows us to do this even in a world of illusion. We can apply the laws of oneness even in the world of separation. And that's the miracle, that you can actually do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that now brings meaning to a meaningless world. Your journey through life is meaningful if you're interpreting it correctly, if you're perceiving it correctly. Because it becomes the way out. So, okay, I'm on an escape journey here. And, the meaning of my life is to escape this terrible thought system and the insane world it's created. And I feel purpose. I feel meaning. I feel inspired. So yeah, I'm actually going to do it this lifetime. I'm going to get out, and I'm going to help others to awaken. So you can be extremely motivated. I was actually watched that movie, the Shawshank Redemption.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Where he escapes from prison. It's got some great symbolism in there. He's
Hmm.
extremely motivated to escape. For 20 years, he's like digging through the wall. It's like, okay, yes, I'm living in the prison temporarily, but I've got my escape plan, and I'm going to do this.
Yeah,
And so it's symbolic of this. Yeah, okay. So he's living in the one. He made the best of that experience in prison. He was helpful. He
yeah,
became
yeah,
like one of the most important people in the prison, and he really added value to that environment. But he wasn't attached to it. He was like, okay, but all the while I'm planning my escape.
yeah,
So he was in it, but not of it. He was never. He never accepted the mindset of a prisoner. You saw some of the others who'd been there longer were like, okay, well, they just accept that's their identity. They're a prisoner, and they're never going to be free. And then the one guy actually got freed after 50 years. Do you remember?
yeah,
He
yeah,
hanged himself because he couldn't
yeah,
deal.
yeah.
Now I'm free. Wow. No, I actually want to go back to prison because that's what I know.
Makes me think of that film Bridge Over the River Kwai, which has been popping up again recently for me. I don't know why. But of course,
Okay.
at the end, Alec Guinness, who's the guy in charge, has
Hmm.
rebuilt the morale of the whole team to build this bridge.
Hmm.
And then when the Allies come in and start bombing it, he gets really upset because he's attached to the bridge.
To the bridge. Yeah. Because it's the whole point is not the form. It's the process.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
process of the bridge building was
yeah,
what was important.
yeah, yeah.
And apparently, in some Buddhist monasteries, they build a monastery every 20 years.
Ah,
So they don't just like stay. They go, okay, 20 years, because it's in the building of it.
yeah,
There's a project, and then they'll pull it down. They have two sites. They'll pull the one down, and then they'll build another one.
yeah,
And so that every generation has the opportunity to experience the building of a monastery.
yeah, yeah,
And it's the process, the learning that comes from it. It's not the monastery itself. Oh, well, we've built it, now we don't have to do anything for hundreds of years. It's the process of building it that's important. They realize that. So process is flow. Process is miraculous. Process is the at-one-ment. Yeah, it's all process. I'm learning. I'm expanding my mind. I'm going back to God. That's the outcome. What happens on the level of form? Well, form is temporary. Form doesn't stay anyway. So, now I've built a bridge in that case. And then you attach to the form, but that's not the point. The point was to rebuild the morale of the team. And if the bridge served that purpose, then it served it served the true purpose, the worthy purpose. And if it gets bombed on the level of form, then so what?
yeah.
We've done it. We've had the experience of working together as a team, of that oneness that came from that project.
Mm,
So it's flow. Do you focus on the flow, the process, or do you focus on the outcome? And that choice is giving value to the world or giving value to the at-one-ment. As he says, what do you choose to value?
mm,
If you value form, then you're going to be upset because you see a meaningless world. Form doesn't last. Form is not eternal. We're like, it's so obvious. It's extraordinary, really, that it's such an obvious principle. You can observe it everywhere in life, and yet we still do it as human beings. We get attached to form,
yeah,
even though it's obvious it's not going to last.
yeah,
So you have to be vigilant and remind yourself continuously these principles. No, don't get attached to the form. It's about the process. Like my only job here is to learn this thought system and to learn it and to teach it. I hold on to nothing here. None of the form, roles, identities, possessions, money. None of that will last. So I'm not attached to any of it. What I attach to is the truth, and only that. The truth of oneness. That becomes my rock. Jesus talked about the parable of the rock, man who builds his house on the rock or the sand. So you build your house on the rock of truth. That will see you through, because the truth never changes. So it doesn't matter what happens on the level of form, what changes happen in your life, that truth will guide you through the insanity to find meaning in any situation, even in the worst situations. Well, you can always let it go, can't you? You can always see it as, well, this is an opportunity to let go another part of my ego and free my mind. So, all right, then let me do that. That simple shift suddenly makes the meaningless into the meaningful. Okay, anything else in that? The idea of chaos, laws of chaos, only chaos rules a world. We'll get to that quite shortly in the text, I think, the laws of chaos.
Yeah.
It talks about, so we're trying to make these laws of chaos, which govern this world, into true laws. Say, no, these are true and real, but we believe in them. And of course, then we get upset because these laws are not true, and they always seem to be violated. It's not a stable system, is it? If you look at the ego system, it's not stable. So it's prone to change at any time, and the more attached we are to it, the more likely we are to get upset because of those changes.
Yeah,
But that's the nature of it. Okay, happy with that?
Yeah, good with that.
13.
A meaningless world engenders fear. The totally insane engenders fear because it is completely undependable and offers no grounds for trust. Nothing in madness is dependable. It holds out no safety and no hope. Such a world is not real. I have given it the illusion of reality and have suffered from my belief in it. Now I choose to withdraw this belief and place my trust in reality. In choosing this, I will escape all the effects of the world of fear, because I am acknowledging that it does not exist.
Okay, so he goes straight in there. That's just what I've been saying. Totally insane engenders fear because it is completely undependable. Offers no grounds for trust. So it's very unstable. It's capricious. It can change at any moment. So it's undependable. You can't depend on it at all. And so fear is inevitable. Which is why there's this existential anxiety permeates our society, because everyone's seeking certainty in an illusion, and it doesn't exist there. It's very clear. Nothing in madness is dependable. Holds out no safety and no hope. So again, it's very unambiguous teaching, right? Don't look for safety and hope in the world. You think anything in the world is going to make you safe and bring you hope, then you are deluded. So look at those ideas and simply release them, let them go. Because such a world isn't real.
Yeah.
I have given it the illusion of reality. You've done this. No one's done it to you. You've done it. That's a big part of the sole responsibility of the miracle worker, is to accept that one for himself. I've done this. I've given it the illusion so I can also change my mind about it. I've suffered from my belief in it. So I've made myself suffer through my beliefs. Now I choose to withdraw this belief, place my trust in reality. So withdrawing this belief means moment by moment we let go of thoughts that value the world. And we notice, value cropping up in our minds. We go, oh, I'm attaching to that. I'm giving it an importance and a meaning. Then we say, no, I withdraw my belief. So I let go, in other words, or forgive in course terminology. I let go of that belief. I simply drop it. I say, well, this belief isn't true. It's not important. If it comes up again, no, this isn't true. I can just release it, which is what these mind training exercises are designed to help us do. And then I will escape all the effects of the world of fear, because I'm acknowledging that it does not exist.
Yep.
So we're training our minds the whole time. This doesn't exist. As we let go, we're saying, no, this isn't reality. And it's baby steps towards that. We don't get to the full non-dual realization of, none of it's true, and I'm just in the peace of God, permanently rooted there, without a lot of work. It's these experiences, as they show up and attachments come, and we feel the suffering, then we have the opportunity to let go of these beliefs that enslave us, and situation by situation, moment by moment, just free. It's like just another little bit of the chains released, the knots being loosened. And that's mind training, and that's the vigilance, day by day, moment by moment, just to be willing to do this process that he's given us to free our minds.
Yeah, good.
Okay, can you give me a little summary of that?
Well, I think it's saying that, well, for me, it's saying that the more we feed into fear, or allow ourselves to feed into fear and let it take charge of us, the more unsettled we are going to be, and the more we are going to align with the illusion and confirm and reaffirm separation and all the negative things that go with it.
So if we attach meaning to a meaningless world, fear is inevitable. I think that's the key point. And then we choose to withdraw those, in other words, let it go, forgive it, then we escape all the effects of the world of fear, because I'm acknowledging that it does not exist. So in the forgiveness or the letting go, you're really saying this doesn't exist. You're denying its existence.
Yeah.
That's what forgiveness does. It fundamentally corrects your misperception of a false reality, false self and false reality, which is profound, really. Like, wow, that's just by doing the simple mind training. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Okay, happy with number 13?
Yep. God did not create a meaningless world. How can a meaningless world exist if God, love, pure formless awareness, did not create it? It is the source of all meaning, and everything that is real is in his mind, its mind. It is in my mind too, because it created it with me. Why should I continue to suffer from the effects of my own insane thoughts when the perfection of creation is my home? Let me remember the power of my decision and recognize where I really abide.
Yeah, this is quite a major lesson.
So he's emphasizing that, well, he's pointing out, how on earth could God create a meaningless world?
Yeah, and this is a absolutely fundamental point, because if you decide in your mind that God, ultimate source reality, created this world, then you have a major problem with understanding the nature of God, because then God is clearly insane.
It makes it impossible to understand why we are here, really.
Oh. Then we get all this, some teachings about, well, God put us here. Well, why would a loving God put you into such a hellish place?
Yeah.
all this pain and suffering, and ultimately you're going to die.
Yeah.
No, it's God's will. We don't understand it, but just accept it. And this isn't acceptance. The Course is teaching. He's teaching an acceptance based on logic. On like, does this actually make sense to you? Look at it honestly, and you see that this world cannot have been created by love. God or love had nothing to do with a world of suffering and pain and misery and sickness and death. So it's a major correction, because almost every religion, every spiritual teaching, it's not pure non-dual like the Course, will have the conception that God created the world.
Yeah.
However they conceive of God, and they say, God made this, and it's a fundamental error. It's not true. And then you have to try and reconcile love and fear, and go, well, why would a loving God do this? No, well, we don't really understand, but these things will be honest, but just accept it.
Mm.
And Jesus is saying, no, don't accept it. If the logic doesn't make sense, then reject it. It doesn't make sense. So then the only possible conclusion that you can come to, if you really honestly look at this world, is that God didn't create it. Okay, well, love didn't create it then. And I think this is what Jesus understood. His kind of breakthrough insight, maybe when he went into the desert for that 40-day fast, was he just sat and he went, okay, I want to understand this. How can this be? How can a God of love have created a world like this? It's like the problem. It's like a primary philosophical problem. And he sat until he got the answer. Okay, well, God didn't create it. That's the only answer, isn't it? If you're really honest. Okay, if God didn't create it, then it's not real. Then it has no reality. Then it's meaningless. Then none of this really affects me. You see, it's a whole train of logic comes from this simple idea.
Yeah, it's a tremendous breakthrough revelation, isn't it?
To really see that God didn't create it, because in all of the his tradition, the Judaic tradition, God created the world. God created the world 7 days, the whole creation myth, and most spiritual traditions and cultures have this idea of some kind of creator God that created the world. That's then the ultimate source of life. And he saw, no, actually that's not the case. There's something beyond the illusion that made up this world. So, the idea of the consciousness of the ego as the false God, the Gnostics called it the universal mind, that then had a thought of separation, and that consciousness is what's created this world. Let me see if I can bring up that diagram. So there's a split in the mind. I can't see my cursor. Oh, there we go. It's gone down the bottom here somewhere. Still can't see it. Okay, we'll give up on this. Do you remember our diagram? It's there's a fundamental.
Yeah, good.
And so he saw, okay, there's the ego, as he calls it, universal mind, consciousness, Satan. This is a false idea from which an entire reality is spawned. Remember in the Matrix, they say, Morpheus is explaining it to Neo. He says, a singular consciousness, this AI, artificial intelligence. Okay, interesting, artificial. The singular consciousness that spawned an entire race of machines. Okay, so that singular consciousness of the ego, the single tiny mad idea of separation, spawned the universe as we know it, this physical universe and all the forms in it, entire race of human beings and all the plants and the animals and all the forms that exist in this world and everywhere, spawned from that tiny mad idea. And Jesus saw that none of that is true, that there is a mind that lies outside of the mind of time and space. that is ultimately true. And this is where he's pointing us. And you have to say then that God didn't create this world in order to get to that mind, because then you're acknowledging there's another presence that lies outside of the world of form. Okay, happy with?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Source of all meaning. So he's pointing us to the true source, beyond the universal mind, beyond the consciousness that created this world. It frees us from all the insane thoughts, all the suffering. Returns our minds home to creation. Creation being the beingness that we are. And that it's our decision that will take us there. Recognize where I really abide. Not in this world, not in the domain made up by the consciousness of separation. That's not where I really abide. Not in this world. This world is not my home. Okay? Do you want to give a little summary of number 14? I think you got muted, John, for some reason.
It's stressing how impossible it would be for God to create the meaningless world. And it's kind of underlining the importance of not getting associated with the meaningless world, and looking to align ourselves with source, and be open to source, hearing what its message is, what its real message is. And we can only do that when we let go of egoic orientated beliefs.
And this is a major one. This idea that God created the world is a major egoic belief. It keeps it in charge. Basically, believing in a false God, believing in the God of the ego, the consciousness that believes in separation as the creator. Well, that's totally false.
Very difficult concept to get across to someone who hasn't, for example, been involved in the course. Yeah,
well, it challenges. I remember having conversations with people. They'd say, well, you're wrong because no one else believes this. No, I've never heard of this, so you must be wrong. It's like, no, actually, just maybe the general consensus that God created the world is wrong, and maybe this is correct, maybe this is true. And in fact, if you look at it logically, you go, well, what else could it be? If you make God responsible, then okay, well, this is reality. Then we're stuck here. We're stuck. God is responsible for duality. Duality is real. Then we just have to accept this is our home. If duality is real, then we're kind of doomed to come back here over and over and over again. Be human, live these lives, be born, die, suffer, because God created it, and this is obviously what His will is for us. Which is all a bit desperate, really. Well, what's the point of it? Why do we keep doing that? It doesn't. If you look deeper, the idea that God created the world just really doesn't make any sense, actually, if you're really honest. And he's just pointing that out. Okay.
My thoughts are images that I have made. Whatever I see reflects my thoughts. It is my thoughts that tell me where I am and what I am. The fact that I see a world in which there is suffering and loss and death shows me that I am seeing only the representation of my insane thoughts. And I'm not allowing my real thoughts to cast their beneficent light on what I see. God's love's way is sure. The images I have made cannot prevail against it, because it is not my will that they do so. My will is its, and I place no other gods before him, it.
Okay. Just want to unpack that. Thoughts or images I've made.
I think it's really interesting how it's emphasizing that the way we think actually produces what we see, or believe we see, or choose to experience.
Well, this is projection, isn't it? My thoughts or the images that I've made. So the ego's invented this world based on thought, projected outwards and seemingly made real in form. So projection, perception, whatever I see, so whatever I perceive reflects my thoughts.
Yeah.
I'm actually projecting my thoughts outwards, and then I'm perceiving them as real. So the images that I think I see are really just my thoughts. This happens on such a deep level that we're unconscious of it. We're not recognizing that my thoughts are behind all these images that I see in the world. The images seem to be real and have a reality independent of my thoughts. And that's not really the case. My thoughts that tell me where I am and what I am. Okay, so now we've done this crazy thing. My thoughts will tell me where I am and what I am. They'll tell me the meaning of this world. And there's only two ways of looking at it. The ego will tell me this world is real, I'm a body, I'm separate, it's all true. But the spirit says, no, look again. These thoughts are just images that you made up. False belief creates false thought, creates projection of false images. You then perceive them as real, and you get caught up in your own error. The fact that I see a world of suffering and loss and death shows me that I'm seeing only the representation of my insane thoughts. I'm not allowing my real thoughts to cast a beneficent light on what I see. So if I see these things, I make them real. I'm seeing the representation of my own insane thoughts. So we look on the news, we see war, we see fighting, conflict. It's the representation of your own insane thoughts. Not allowing my real thoughts to cast a beneficent light on what I see. So those real thoughts would be the reinterpretation. Well, this isn't true. My thoughts are images that I've made. I've just made this up. Actually, what lies beyond these images is truth. These are your real thoughts. The images I've made cannot prevail against this pure formless awareness, because it is not my will that they do so. So we must choose it. It's there, it's available for us, but we must choose it. My will is his, so my will is only pure formless awareness, and I will place no other gods before him or it. So the other gods are things, idols that the ego's made up, that we value in this world, that we attach to, with a small g. Okay, do you want to give a little summary of that? Any questions on it?
It's just emphasizing again that we make up the illusion as we perceive it, But there is another way. We can recognize real thought and follow that, which will produce a different experience.
Yeah, we'll cast a beneficent light on all of it. So we see sickness and suffering and loss and death, but reinterpreted, the Holy Spirit. And these are just showing you your own insane thoughts, which you can let go of. Return your mind back to oneness. So that's then the purpose. You use everything for that. See suffering, see sickness, see death. You simply say, no, this is not true. This is a false idea about myself. These thoughts are images that I've made. So I've made them up to convince myself that they're real, but none of this is true. So I can let go of the thoughts. I can let go of the beliefs. I can let go of my attachment to the images, and then I'm back home. What remains then is pure formless awareness. So by deconstructing the importance of the images in our mind, we undo the ego. That's really the genius of this teaching. By looking at the projection and saying these images are not true, they're not real, we must deny the belief that created them. And then we undo the ego systematically. So it's ingenious, really. Jesus has worked it out. Gone, okay, well, I understand how the ego works. So now I understand the antidote to it. This mechanism of projection, the images that you made, becomes the Achilles heel of the ego. Because you can reinterpret those images to get back into your mind, to get back to the beliefs that are there, and then let go of those beliefs, which is what the ego is made up of, and return your mind to pure formless awareness. And that's what this mind training is about. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
In fact, it's the only thing that does make sense. If you really look at any kind of spiritual teaching, spiritual techniques, that's the only thing that really does make sense. Yes, yeah, and everything's designed for that. Whatever the technique is, whether using breath work or meditation, it's all part of that process. Now, are you correcting your mind? Are you changing your mind about the projection? Because if you're not doing that, then you're not doing anything. You're just strengthening the ego. So that's why forgiveness or letting go is at the very, very foundation of his teaching, because it undoes the beliefs that lead to the projections systematically and progressively as you do it. Okay?
It's interesting, because as we've been going through these 5 lessons, I've had a kind of a realization within myself, because there are a couple of people in my life who I've had major difficulty with, and I can feel myself becoming at peace with.
Good.
And instead of focusing on what should have happened, I'm just naturally drawn to being thankful for what did happen.
Yeah, it was the purpose of it was not whatever it was, happy family on the level of form. It was to show you your beliefs, show you the false beliefs of the ego and help you to undo them. That's the purpose of those experiences. So, if you got the experiences and now you're getting the lesson, all perfect.
Yeah.
Should have been exactly as it was. Those experiences are major opportunities for undoing. If you didn't have them, then how do you get to the root of the ego? These negative experiences are as much a part of our important part of our journeys as so-called positive ones.
It kind of raises the question in my mind, should I actually say thank you to these people? I would have to actually, I would actually have to bring, well, either I would have to bring that situation about, or just be open to an opportunity to say it.
And if you feel it, you see, the main thing is to feel it in your heart. If you really feel that gratitude, wow, you know, that was actually a major learning experience for me and part of my at one-man process. And this person has helped me. You really see that, then it's done. You don't maybe on the level of form you thank them, but that's what's happening in your mind that's important. And maybe then something shows up. You know, if you really do that, you move into gratitude. You might find that the opportunity then for something on the level of form arises, because that's how it goes.
Yeah.
Just by you having a thought now about them and a bit of a shift, you might find something arises in the next few days.
Yeah.
Which then, you know, then you listen to the guidance. Okay, well, does that feel right? Does it feel in alignment with the spirit? If it does, then follow the guidance and you know, do what it's guiding you to do. Because then that's another part of the healing of that. So, you know, maybe by thanking them in form, it just really entrenches it. Like there's no going back. Okay, I'm really grateful. I've settled this. I'm over it, and there's kind of a closing and a completeness for you, and that's then part of the healing. I don't know. You know, only the Holy Spirit knows. So
yeah, absolutely.
But it is. You know, it's good that you notice those shifts happening, because what he wants you to do is to apply this to your life.
Yeah.
It's not just theoretical exercise. It's like in the learning of these ideas, you start to transfer it. He calls it transfer of training. You start to transfer it to every aspect of your life. And these situations that are maybe unhealed then just almost spontaneously arise into your awareness, and there's kind of a letting go. There's a healing that happens as you just experience. You weren't consciously going, okay, now I'm going to work on that. It just arose, and then you kind of applied the teaching. Okay, so that
Very
brings
good. Very good. Yeah.
to the end of the lesson. Can you see let's just do a quick review of the whole thing. I think what he's trying to emphasize with grouping them in fives is look at the connection between all of these ideas when they stated together. So my meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. In fact, I'll give you this challenge. When you say the 5 ideas and you link them together in a logical sequence, see if you can do that.
Okay. Well, it's something down the line of
No,
look.
but what I mean, so John, just read them. So my meaningless
right.
thoughts
Okay.
showing me a meaningless world because I'm upset. Okay, well that doesn't make sense. But you see what I mean? You link the one to the other.
Oh, right. Okay.
Some kind of logical sequence. And see if you
Right.
can
Okay.
do that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world, which makes me upset because a meaningless world.
Because I see a meaningless world. Okay, so you link those.
Because the meaningless world takes me into fear.
Yeah.
But God did not create a meaningless world.
I did. My thoughts are the images that I have made. I've made up these images.
And my thoughts, oh yeah, but God did not create a meaningless world, for I made up the images that I am experiencing.
No.
Yeah, that flows.
Yeah. So when you do an exercise like that, you see, look, this is a cohesive thought system. The one leads into another, and you can mix and match them. There's another way of doing it, no doubt. And then it starts to make sense, so that it starts to gel together as a thought system, as a cohesive thought system that makes sense, that now becomes the guide in your life. That's what he's trying to accomplish with this mind training. A new operating system, really. So it's like taking Windows out of your computer and saying, right, we're going to have Linux now. We're going to have another operating system on which everything else is operating. That's what the course is doing, which is very, deep, profound work. It's not easy work. Okay.
Yeah. Good.
Happy with
Thank you, John.
that. Yeah, my pleasure. So, should we do a meditation now or at the end of the session?
Let's do it at the end.
Okay. Do you need a quick break, or you okay to carry on?
I'm okay, actually.
All right. Just get into chapter 7, which is the state of grace. Section 11 of chapter 7.
Yes, I started this one by looking at what we had for grace in our glossary.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's have a look at that. Could be interesting. If I can find my cursor, that would always be good.
An experience of resting in pure being or formless awareness, i.e., a taste of revelation and of heaven given to us by its source, i.e., God or pure formless awareness itself. Not earned, and no action is required from the person experiencing it. But forgiveness and miracles prepare the mind to experience it.
Yeah. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I see that as grace is being given independent, in a way, independently, but it comes there is some it kind of is a gift in acknowledgement of having done the work.
Okay. Yeah. It comes as an experience. So the mind training miracles are sort of correcting our perception, but grace is a state that transcends perception. It's like a glimpse of this heavenly state.
I remember having a conversation once with somebody, and he said, well, this religion thing's okay, as long as you ask for forgiveness before you die, you'll be all right.
Really?
And I thought, well, what's actually wrong with that statement? And it occurred to me that, well, if he were capable of asking for forgiveness 100%, from his very soul, then perhaps it's okay. But
because it would then be a major shift, just before you die. But why wait till just before you die?
yeah,
Why not do it now, and enjoy living in a state of grace for your rest of your human life.
yeah. Mm.
Almost like procrastination. So okay, well, I do whatever I want, and then as long as I ask for forgiveness, on my deathbed, I'll be all right. Okay, well, the quality of your experience in the meantime is certainly not optimal then.
Yeah. Well, it's an expression of a desire to be with the ego. Meantime.
Yeah, it's like no. Well, I'll listen to the ego, and then right at the last moment, I'll ask for forgiveness. But easier said than done. If you haven't trained your mind in proper forgiveness, radical forgiveness, you're not just going to suddenly, oh yes, okay, of course, yeah, I'll just drop it all. A lifetime of bad mental habits and attachments is unlikely just to drop away in an instant. So Jesus is saying, look, let's just start training your mind systematically and progressively through this course, so that you start learning this while you're still here, while you're still alive, and this, in fact, is the only purpose of your life, is to learn this thought system. So why wait? Because what are you really doing? Well, you're just spinning your wheels in the ego, not going anywhere, not really living. If you're living in the ego, it's not really life. It's a delusion of life. Okay, we'll come back to that definition. Get to some of what he says in the text.
Yeah, the Holy Spirit, the awareness of oneness, will always guide you truly, because your joy is his. This is his will for everyone, because it speaks for this state of pure formless awareness, which is joy.
And translate will as awareness. And then
okay. Yes, this is his awareness. This is his awareness for everyone. Oh yeah, it's awareness. This is its awareness for everyone, because it speaks for the state of pure formless awareness, which is joy.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Yeah. It's just an awareness that's there for everyone, and that awareness is joy. And you have that awareness.
Yeah. Following it is therefore the easiest thing in the world, and the only thing that is easy, because it is not of the world. It is therefore natural. The world goes against your nature, being out of accord with love's laws. The world perceives orders of difficulty in everything. This is because the ego perceives nothing wholly desirable. By demonstrating to yourself there is no order of difficulty in miracles, you will convince yourself that in your natural state there is no difficulty at all, because it is a state of grace. Now that last sentence is just challenging me a little bit. By demonstrating to yourself there is no order of difficulty in miracles, you will convince yourself that in your natural state there is no difficulty at all, because it is a state of grace. Is that those last few words? Because it is a state of grace.
Your natural state is a state of grace.
Okay. The natural state is a state of grace. Okay.
So your natural state is to be in pure formless awareness. That's what you are, that's who you are. And so there's no difficulty in that, because it simply is what it is. And there's
Yeah,
no other awareness.
and hooked up that
Hmm.
state of grace with a natural state. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so you want to unpack that?
Well, it's saying that the Holy Spirit, our guide, is always our reliable guide, because its objective is joy and alignment with love.
Hmm.
And following him, following joy, is the easiest thing in the world. The only thing that is easy, because it is not of the world. That's kind of interesting,
Hmm.
because I think a lot of us would say, no, it's not easy. It's not easy to follow Holy Spirit. We have to let go of so much and concentrate and discern and recognize what is the real voice, and then make effort to follow that.
Well, that's because we're in an illusion. This is the world goes against your nature. Okay? So this external world is a projection of a false idea that's against your nature, being out of accord with God's laws. So now we've put ourselves in this extremely difficult position. It seems to require a lot of vigilance, a lot of kind of resisting of the status quo and the norm of the world, in order to live according to the Holy Spirit and be in our natural state. But beyond the world, beyond any awareness of this, our natural state is pure formless awareness, which is a state of grace where we are simply being what we are. So the effort is the mind training, the miracles, to train our minds to enter that state more and more, start accepting that state more and more, where things do become easy. If you're in a state of grace, in that awareness, in that state, there's no difficulty. You're simply there. I had that little glimpse of it, I mentioned in the Vipassana retreat. It was a state of grace for a minute or two. It didn't last longer than that, but it was enough to really fundamentally change my mind, I think. It's like, wow, nothing's required, just is. Everything's in this moment, everything's perfect. I didn't even think that. It was just was what it was. It was a totally fulfilled, satisfying, happy experience. Again, put words to it. There was nothing lacking in it. It was just perfect in that moment. So that was a state of grace. A little pointer, a little glimpse beyond the world of illusion, where we seem to have to work for everything and stressing and straining and striving, to a state that's just so easy to be in because it's your natural state. There's no effort that's required to be what you are. So the paradox in this world is the effort is to undo what you're not, so that you can accept what you are. It requires the vigilance and the mind training, because we've so thoroughly convinced ourselves that we are not what we are. We've denied the state of grace. We've got a belief system and an entire world that supports it. And so now we must deny that. We must undo that in our minds, to return to the state of grace that is our true state, our natural state, as he says. And that requires work, and that requires vigilance and effort, but so that ultimately we can return our mind to a state of grace where effort is no longer required. where there is no order of difficulty. As we start to correct our mind with miracles, then we're starting to learn these laws, of love. Okay, there's really no order of difficulty in any miracle, because I can change my mind anytime I want. That's why there's no order of difficulty in miracles. I can choose to change my mind, correct my mind at any point. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are. It doesn't matter what's happening on the level of form, because he's not referring to the level of form here. He's referring to the level of mind. No order of difficulty in miracles, because you can change your mind about anything instantly. Then what happens on the level of form follows, but that's not the miracle is really the correction in your perception. Remember that. Which then leads to the state of grace. If you keep doing that, then it leads you to a state of grace or revelation. But the miracle is the mind training aspect of this course, which is why he focuses on miracles, saying you're not going to get to the state of grace without doing the mind training. If you've got all these false beliefs, then forget it. The state of grace is going to be elusive.
Yeah.
Okay, happy with?
Yeah. Grace is
What?
Grace is the natural state of every extension of every extension of love, Son of God. When he is not in a state of grace, he is out of his natural environment and does not function well. Everything he does becomes a strain, because he was not created for the environment that he has made. He therefore cannot adapt to it, nor can he adapt it to him. There is no point in trying. The extension of love is happy only when it knows it is with source, love, pure formless awareness. That is the only environment in which it will not experience strain, because that is where it belongs. It is also the only environment that is worthy of it, because his own worth is beyond anything he can make.
So the pronouns there, when they small pronouns, I'd keep them, because he's talking then about on the level of form. Some Son of God is a apparent person, and he just uses the masculine rather than the feminine. Otherwise, it gets a bit tricky. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It reminds me of the time I left home and went to university. I had this desire after about 6 weeks to go home. And I went home, which was quite a journey, actually. It took me the best part of the day. But when I got home, I just sat in this chair where I used to sit for about 15 minutes. And I thought, I'm okay now.
Okay.
I just had to reconnect. I didn't. It wasn't a matter of speaking to anybody. It was just a matter of reconnecting with my environment. Maybe it was a reassurance that it was still there in some sort of way. But it had this peculiar effect on me. I thought there was suddenly in a moment arrived. I thought, I'm okay now. And I only had it that once, and I went back to university, and that was fine.
Yeah. Just a little state of grace.
Yeah. Yes. This is really about what we can have if we experience the state of grace, because the state of grace has to be that magnificent almost unimaginable state of connection.
It's when you're in your true awareness, right? That pure formless awareness is yours, and there's nothing else. So you could call it, as I said, compared to revelation. It's not exactly clear, the difference, but I think grace more refers to, like, it's a state, very high state, but you still kind of in the world.
Yeah.
There's still some kind of idea of the world and perception. Revelation transcends, the world entirely. This idea of, I'm gracefully living in this world, and I'm connected to the state of grace, and then we experience that grace as miracles and flow. Flow is really a state of grace. But now you're actually acting. You're acting in the state of grace. That's really the flow state. So I think it's kind of a halfway between miracles and revelation.
Yeah.
In my interpretation, anyway. And you could say revelation is a state of grace, and you wouldn't be wrong. But maybe grace is just a little bit more accessible than revelation.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to unpack that? A sentence, grace is a natural state.
Yeah, I think it's saying that, grace, that connection with pure formless awareness, is a natural state. And therefore, when we are not in it, there is strain and stress, and we no matter what we do, we no longer feel at ease, totally at ease, or only momentarily at ease. And compared to the state of grace, which is where we kind of know that we do belong there, and it's the only place that is truly worthy of us.
Yeah, it's that state of being in pure formless awareness, beyond straining, beyond stressing, beyond striving. It's the only environment you will not experience strain. So what he's saying is, if you put yourself into an impossible position, which we've done by thinking we're human, then you're going to experience strain here. It's inevitable. It's part of the impossible dream that you've invented. It's also the only environment that's worthy of it, because its own worth is beyond anything he can make. So again, very clear pointer to going out of this world. This world is not worthy of you, and don't try and he cannot adapt it to it, nor can he adapt it to him. There's no point in trying. I think that's a major point, because that's what the ego is always trying to do, is adapt itself to the world and adapt the world to it. And that's been primary pursuit of humanity for thousands of years. We're going to adapt the world to ourselves. Okay, so we invent all kinds of technology to make our lives better here. Jesus is saying there's no point in trying. This is all futile. We would have been far better off just returning our minds to God and living in this state of grace, which is of course what the mystics do. They go, well, there's no point in doing anything else. Let me just correct my mind and go back to the state of grace, and nothing else is required. I'm not going to try and adapt the world to me, adapt myself to it. I'm just going to find the state of grace and stay there. Which is the only thing that really makes any sense.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Good one. Consider the kingdom the state of awareness you have made and judge its worth fairly. Is it worthy to be a home for a child of love? Does it
An
protect
extension of
his...
love, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Does it protect his peace and shine love upon him? Does it keep his heart untouched by fear and allow him to give always without any sense of loss? Does it teach him that this giving is his joy and that pure formless awareness itself thanks him for his giving? That is the only environment in which you can be happy. You cannot make it any more than you can make yourself. It has been created for you. You were created for it. Love watches over its extensions and denies them nothing. Yet when they deny it, they do not know this because they deny themselves everything. You who could give the love of pure formless awareness to everything you see and touch and remember, literally denying heaven to yourself. Perfect oneness to ourselves. So it's challenging us here to look at what we have made in this world and say, well, is this really worthy of a child of love? Is it really the environment that thrives and helps love prosper and flourish? Is it really the environment in which we can be happy?
Yeah, and ask honestly. And you see the honest answer, then you say no. You know, this isn't an environment I should choose to be in. I'm not going to try and make this world work. I'm going to try and leave the world.
Number 10 is interesting. Yet when they deny him, they do not know this. Because they deny themselves everything. So is he saying here that when we deny God, we don't know that we're doing that? Because we're...
We'll read number 9. Love God or love watches over.
God watches over, love watches over its extensions and denies them nothing.
In other words, it's always present. You know, this awareness of love, pure formless awareness, is always there in your mind. That watches over. Again, he's using language to try and express something in the mind. So it's not literally God watching over you, but it's the underlying awareness that's always there and denies them nothing. You know, that gives you everything. It gives you love, peace, joy, everything you really want. Yet when you deny that presence, deny pure formless awareness, then you do not know this.
Yeah.
And you actually deny yourself everything.
Oh, yes.
You deny your true awareness, and you deny yourself everything, because that's everything. That's your reality. That's your life. It's your existence. That's all peace and love and joy. So we deny ourselves, literally denying heaven, which is the state of pure formless awareness, to yourself. We simply deny that by denying that awareness is ours. Doesn't make any sense at all. Okay, so you want to just summarize that paragraph? Key points? Move on.
Yes, well, is asking us, do we really want to deny our real identity?
You also have to look honestly at the world to start with and say, does this world actually fulfill these requirements?
Yeah.
Consider it honestly. Is it a worthy home?
Mm.
Does it protect your peace? Shine love upon him? No, generally not. That's not the typical experience of this world. Does it keep you untouched by fear? Allow you to give always without any sense of loss? No, hardly. It tells you that if you give to others, then you won't have enough yourself.
Yeah.
Does it teach him that this giving is his joy, that God himself thanks him for his giving? Love itself? No, it's totally opposite. It doesn't teach any of those things. The world's laws completely opposite to these. And then he's saying, well, this is the only environment in which you can be happy. You cannot make it any more than you make yourself. You can make yourself. It's there for you, but if you deny it, then it's not there for you.
Yeah.
Deny yourself everything when you deny this awareness.
Mm.
Okay? Happy with that?
Yeah, it's good. I call upon you to remember that I have chosen you to teach the state of awareness to the
Teach the state of awareness to the state of awareness.
oh, okay, let's do it. I could translate it as, I call upon you to remember that I have chosen you to teach love to everyone.
Yeah, you could.
There are no exceptions to this lesson because the lack of exceptions is the lesson. Every extension of God who returns to the state of awareness with this lesson in his heart has healed all extensions of pure formless awareness and given thanks to Source. Everyone who learns this lesson has become the perfect teacher because he has learned it of the awareness of oneness or truth.
Okay. So you want to summarize that?
So it's saying here that we have been chosen to teach oneness to those those in our who share our illusion.
Yeah, I mean, translate that in practical terms. To teach the state of pure formless awareness, to teach this awareness to everyone, to the mind. The kingdom is the mind. So teach the state of pure formless awareness to the mind, or the extension of source, of love, which is all of us. And there are no exceptions. So lack of exceptions is the lesson, right? So it's love always, without exception, and that's unconditional, isn't it? That's what we're trying to learn here. Unconditional love.
Yeah.
For everyone and everything in the sonship, in the extension, because everyone is an extension of the mind of pure formless awareness.
Mm. Mm.
How do you interpret number 3? Can you translate that?
Everyone who returns to the state of oneness, really having really understood the state of oneness in his heart, has has healed everyone as far as he can, and thereby express gratitude to Source.
Oh, has healed the sonship is an extension. Has healed the extension of Source, extension of this perfect awareness of oneness, because you've accepted it for yourself. That's all you can do. And other minds must also accept it for themselves. But your job here is to teach that the state of awareness to everyone. So you do it first. Everyone who learns this lesson has become the perfect teacher because he has learned it of the Holy Spirit. So as we learn this ourselves, if we return our mind to pure formless awareness, and we have become the perfect teacher of that awareness. Makes sense?
Yeah.
So as we learn it, we teach it, and then we teach it, and that confirms our learning. That yes, that only this is true in our minds. The more you teach it, the more you convince yourself that it's true.
Yeah.
Okay, happy with number 4?
Yeah, it's good. When a mind has only light, it knows only light.
So just stop.
Yeah.
What do you think of as light? Because he uses
okay. So I'm associating light with being awareness.
Exactly. We must stick that into our glossary.
Yeah, we haven't got that.
No. Because he uses it quite a lot. Light. Okay, well, again, it's a symbol. Because he's not talking about physical light. So light would sit there.
Well, it'd go after level confusion, wouldn't it?
Oh, it's true. Light is awareness of you say that's a reasonable definition? The awareness of God or love or pure formless awareness. When you're aware of it, then you have light in your mind.
Yeah.
The mind is only the awareness of pure formless awareness. It knows only that awareness, knows only that state.
Yeah. So when a mind has only awareness, it knows only awareness. Its own radiance shines all around it and extends out into the darkness of other minds, transforming them into majesty. The majesty, capital M of love, pure formless awareness, is there for you to recognize and appreciate and know. Recognizing the majesty of love, pure formless awareness as your brother is to accept your own inheritance. Love gives only equally. If you recognize its gift in anyone, you have acknowledged what it has given you. Nothing is so easy to recognize as truth. This is the recognition that is immediate, clear, and natural. You have trained yourself not to recognize it, and this has been very difficult for you. So it's saying here when we connect with light, full awareness, then we see, we recognize the radiance in those around us and ourselves. It becomes almost, why did I see this before? Time, why have I been trying so desperately hard to keep myself away from it?
If you train yourself not to recognize truth, then this is very difficult. Creates enormous difficulty and strain. Anything else stand out for you?
I think you can see that strain in the faces of older people who have denied truth, or middle-aged people who have denied truth. It shows up in the face.
Hardness, age,
Yeah, lines and
yeah, because it's all those thoughts, those emotions. Then they get entrenched in the body.
Yeah.
Likewise, if you see someone who's really in the spirit, they age. There's kind of timeless quality about it. And they're not. Yes, they might be getting grey hair and a few wrinkles, but it's not the same. If you look at Eckhart Tolle, for example, he doesn't really look 70, 74. He doesn't look 74, does he?
Yeah, no.
Because his face is open. It's like not lined and creased, and it's like just open. There's a light there because he hasn't engaged in all of this negative thinking.
Yeah.
Byron Katie, another one, she's aging. I think she's in her 70s now, but there's a light. It's a light that's coming through. That's like, actually a timeless quality. So
Marianne Williamson is another one. I mean, she looks about 30.
Yeah, I think she's had some plastic surgery as well.
I think she's had some assistance.
I think that helps matters, but it's a spirit that there's something coming through. That's a presence that's timeless.
Yeah.
David Hoffmeister's in his 60s. He doesn't look it. It's just this like beaming, shining, radiant kind of countenance that's timeless. So the spirit looks different, and the light, you can see this light shining through in the body, and the lack of it. If someone's really in a dark place, and that will show in their body countenance very clearly.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, I want to summarize number 5, and then let's move on.
Yes. So what it's saying here is when our mind, when we are in right mind and aligned with awareness, we see radiance all around us and in others, and this just feels like a totally natural and normal place to be. Yeah. Barely.
We just trained ourselves not to recognize it.
Yeah.
So that's the source of our strain.
Yeah.
Recognizing the majesty of God. So the majesty of the state of pure formless awareness as your brother is to accept your own inheritance, which is that same state of pure formless awareness. So even when, the trick with this is, even when your brother is not in that state, and most of your brothers are not in that state of mind themselves, and they're not displaying that at all, but you recognize that the state is there, and that's actually who they really are, even though they don't know it, and they're not displaying it in behavior. In fact, they might be displaying completely the opposite.
Yeah.
Then it's to accept your own inheritance. So you use even the denial of it, of the state of pure formless awareness, as an affirmation of it. That's the forgiveness. That's the reversal of thought that he's trying to train us to do. Even
Yeah.
when our brothers are not there, we accept that they're there, and then we accept that this is our own inheritance. True. They are there. If they are there, then so must we be. If they are not there, then we are not in that state either. That's how it works. That's how the mind works.
It's difficult.
We cannot deny it in another and not deny it in ourselves.
It makes me think of a cousin of mine, actually, that I've only seen one in several decades, many decades. I've only seen one in several decades. And as a teenager, she broke a leg, actually, and was incapacitated for quite some time. And she was never the same afterwards. She stopped socializing. She became a bit of a recluse. She really, although she lived in the same house as her father, she hated him, avoided him, and then over the years, never got married, never had children, never held down a job. Continued to live with her mother very frequently, and made her brother's lives miserable as far as she could. And you know, she's now coming up to 70, and she has I mean, to my mind, she has had a miserable life. I did see her at her mother's funeral a couple of years ago, and I purposely went over to say hello. And I was shocked when she turned around to look at me. Her face was so kind of entrenched in fear and aggression, and a combination of fear and anger, I think.
You could see that very clearly.
Yeah, it was shocking. It was actually shocking.
You're like, oh, what's happened to you? Oh my God.
And she, you know, it was her mother's funeral, but you know, once the service was over, she disappeared. Yeah. And she's had an existence in darkness. Yeah.
Well, hopefully she learns something in this life, and maybe next the next one she'll make some better choices.
Yeah.
One would hope, but maybe not. You know, you can't.
Yeah.
The problem is you can't help someone like that. They have to choose themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. But I find it difficult to extend love to her.
Well, this is the thing. Can you recognize the majesty of God even in her?
Yeah.
Even when it's so dark, the covering is so dark and dense.
Yeah.
Over that majesty.
That is a challenge. You know, that is a challenge. That is a challenge.
Yeah.
You know, recognize majesty in her is.
Well, it's there. You see, you've got to go into the abstract then. You can't focus on the level of form.
Yeah.
You focus on the body. You focus on her story, her her life history, which then it's like, well, it's just all dark. You know, there's no light there. But you recognize that it's just a covering. You go, well, it's just a covering. That's not true. It's an illusion. She's attached her mind to an illusion and believed in it so fully that she's covered the light over her entire life, and this is the result. It's a life of darkness, a life of misery, despair, making other people's lives miserable, and she just doesn't know better. She got that trauma of the leg breaking was obviously a key moment in her life that took her into the darkness, and she never came out of it.
Yeah.
But the light is still there. She still has awareness. Otherwise, she would have no life at all. So that awareness is just covered over with the ego's dark thoughts. And you got to know at some point, like no one can escape God. That one will get hurt too at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe not in this life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe quite possibly not in this life. But maybe in her next one, or maybe in her 10th one from now. Who knows? Who knows? You can't say. That's each soul has their journey, and they've got choices to make along the way.
Yeah.
But no, like conceptually, she's still that awareness. She has to be. She would have no life, no existence at all without that awareness. That awareness is what gives her any kind of existence. She's just covered it over and denied it. And then it's a lesson to not do that, to go, well, you can learn from people like that. Okay. People who've gone extremely into darkness, there's a good lesson there. We'll look at the results.
Yeah.
It's fairly obvious that that's not in any way functional. It's not a happy life. It's not going to bring any kind of happiness or joy to anyone.
Yeah.
So what a waste of a life. Why would you choose to live your life that way when you have another choice? Recognition that is immediate and clear and natural. Just that's when I had that little experience, it really was just such a wow, I get it. Just that's it. It was like a stripping away of all the intellect and trying, and it was a state that arose, and I just experienced it, and it was so simple and so pure, and nothing was required there. I didn't need to do anything. And it was like, finally I get it, because he's pointing us to that state. But until you experience it, it's still like a potential, not something you've actually experienced.
Yeah.
It was just so immediate and clear and natural. I was just like, I just saw, this is so obvious. This is our natural state. We've covered it over. We've invented all these illusions. The world just is made up to justify these illusions in our mind, the fear and the guilt and whatever covers over this pure formless awareness, whatever takes me away from this awareness, that's what the world's designed to trigger. I just saw that so clearly.
Yeah.
And then you see it's so obvious. This is our natural state. And I've just trained myself. I cried because it's like, oh my God, what have I done? How could I have trained myself not to recognize this, to cover this over and spend my entire life avoiding this? It's actually just the truth of my being.
Yeah. Good.
Major little insight. But he's pointing us to it and saying, look, it's available to everyone.
Yeah.
You just open yourself up. You can get these moments of clarity, state of grace can arise. And in one moment, really, that was a state of grace that I experienced. I wouldn't say it was a revelation because I hadn't totally, I wasn't aware of the body in that moment, but it wasn't like, I just went into the light and the world disappeared. But it was a state of grace. So it was like this what he's talking about. And it really was pretty life-changing. I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
And as a result, it's taken what I'm doing and the teaching to another level, I think. Just from a brief glimpse at that, a brief state of grace. Quite amazing.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to take time to change your mind. One moment of grace can profoundly change your entire life. All right, I want to move on to number 6.
Out of your natural environment You may well ask, what is truth? Since truth is the environment by which and for which you were created. You do not know yourself because you do not know your creator, your source. You do not know your creations because you do not know your brother who
So try
created.
translating creations as extensions and see
Yeah,
how.
yeah. You do not know your creations, your extensions, because you do not know your brothers who created them with you. I have already said that only the whole.
Extended them with you, yeah.
Oh yeah, extend them with you. I have already said that only the whole extension of love is worthy to be co-creator with pure formless awareness, because only the whole extension of love can extend like it. Whenever you heal a brother by recognizing his worth, you are acknowledging his power to create, to extend, and your own. You cannot have lost what you recognize, and you must have the glory you see in him. He is a co-creator with pure formless awareness with you. Deny its creative power, its ability to extend, you are denying your own ability and that of love, which created, which created you.
Which extended you. It's interesting. If you translate it as extension. Again, it's just semantics, but the idea of create seems to imply that you were once created. Okay, love created you. Okay, so I once didn't exist and then I was created. Whereas, that's not true. You've always been there. There was no time when you didn't exist. So love just extended you, right? That love, that pure formless awareness, you are that. It is you. So we say, well, it extended you. In truth, you are it. You never left it. We're just using words to kind of reconnect our minds to that primary being, that source of being that always is, was, and always will be true. So that beingness, that pure formless awareness, extended you. You are an extension of that. An extension is not different from the source. See, it's all one. So the words are pointing us back to the state where we can finally accept, yes, I'm just one with that. There's no me and it. I am it, it is me. I seemed here to be an extension of it because I seem to have some kind of separate identity going on. But in truth, my mind is simply that. My mind is the mind of God. And the extension and its source are not separate. It's really one thing.
I like number 5, actually. Whenever you heal a brother by recognizing his worth, you are acknowledging his power to extend and yours. It's the gift that we give our brother, isn't it?
So if we see his worth, we see, well, you are love. You are this presence. You're acknowledging that he's also the extension of pure formless awareness.
Yeah.
That he can also extend that. He can love and he can create in this language. He can extend. Create simply means to extend love.
Yeah.
Extend love, extend joy. He can extend them. He can be in them. He can experience these states, and then he can extend them to other people. That is your creation. Your true creations are these extensions of love, peace, and joy.
Yeah.
Okay, want to give a little summary of number 6?
It's kind of saying we don't know pure formless awareness because we don't know our brothers. And unless we accept that the whole sonship, all our brothers are worthy to be co-creators with God, then we are not recognizing the truth. We are denying something. And it's only by recognizing all our brothers for their true worth that we enable them to move forward, and complete ourselves.
Yeah, because it's the total awareness. You can't exclude them from your awareness. You said, oh, my brother's separate from me. Well, then you just denied pure formless awareness, didn't you?
Yeah.
It's one awareness. Now you've got the idea of separation going on. And so you deny the whole of it when you deny that your brothers are that. So the job here is to see them as that awareness, even if they're not in that awareness themselves. Yeah. At some point, charity is the ability to see a brother in a state that is far beyond his actual accomplishments in time.
Yeah.
So he may not have accomplished this in time yet. He's still stuck in his ego or her ego, to quote your example. But I see, not with my body's eyes, but with my mind's eyes, my true seeing, sees that they still have that awareness, that their foundation. And this is just a dense covering over that. And by seeing that, then you acknowledge it in yourself, because you're going, well, that awareness must be in me too.
Yeah.
And that's the forgiveness. That's all you're doing. What you do on the level of form, well, you may never speak to that woman again. You may never see her. And that's okay. There's no requirement that you have to go and heal her mind, or you just use the situation for correcting your own mind and perceiving it truly. Then it serves your own awakening and your own at-one-ment, and on some level hers too.
Yeah.
But on the level of form, that might not seem to have any impact at all. She continues to live in a very dark way, and she dies like that, and nothing worked. But on some level, like you holding that light, you perceiving her in the light is helping her.
Yeah.
To just possibly find the light herself.
Yeah.
If she chooses to continue denying it, well then, no one can help her. In the end, she's got to change her mind. And I think the problem with, as you get older, it becomes harder and harder to change your mind, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's so deeply entrenched. For her now to say, okay, I'm going to go on this whole a mind transformation, and I'm going to start, really letting go and healing my mind. And I've thought this way since I was a teenager. That's 50, 60 years. I mean, it's such deeply entrenched patterns that it becomes extremely hard. The mind is like hardwired. You've literally got to rewire the neural pathways and the way that the biochemistry of the body works. So start doing this young, really, before you get entrenched in these deep-seated patterns. It becomes hard to correct them. Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Number 6.
Yeah. You cannot deny part of truth. You do not know your extensions because you do not know their source. You do not know yourself because you do not know yours. Your extensions cannot establish your reality any more than you can establish God's.
Loves.
But you loves. Oh, yeah. But you can know both. Being is known by sharing. Because source, because love shared its its uh, its essence with you, you can know it. But you must also know all it created, extended. But you must know all that it extends, all its extensions, to know what they have shared. Without your Father, without your source,
Yeah.
you will not know your sense of source, your uh, your, your sourceness.
Your fatherhood, yeah, it's quite difficult to translate it. I would say your being, without acknowledging your source, you will not know your own being and your ability to
Yeah,
extend your being. Because
yeah,
fatherhood,
yeah,
what he's trying to imply here is that you can extend your being. Your creations are the extension of your beingness
yeah,
into the world.
yeah. Beingness. Yeah.
You'll not know your own beingness.
The state of pure formless awareness includes all its extensions and their further extensions, who are like the
Extensions.
getting too many extensions in this. Who are like the creations as they are like source.
Why do you need to change it to creations?
I don't know, too many suns
Read
extensions.
that again. So if you go, just
The,
translate it
sta- the state
consistently.
of pure formless awareness includes all its extensions and
They're extensions.
their extensions, who are like the extensions as they are like us.
Oh.
Okay.
So it's all one, really. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's using language. It's like using extension. It's all one. It's one and the same thing. It's one. It's all in. It's all the same. Right? The source and the extensions of source are really identical. The same awareness. We see them as different here, which is why he uses the language.
Yeah.
But really, it's all the same. Everyone is that awareness. Everyone has that awareness. Everyone extends that awareness. So love, peace, and joy. He states that we, call the extensions or the creations of God are in everyone's mind, and it's all the same. These states are not different. We all share in them.
Yeah.
And this is what he's pointing us to. Okay.
Very good. I'm going to have to go to the loo, Jono. Sorry.
Okay, we'll just finish. We've got one sentence.
Yeah. Okay. Know then the extensions of love, and you will know all extensions.
Yeah.
All,
No, all extension.
all extensions.
So ponder that on the
During my visit.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So
So
we'll come back and do a meditation.
Yeah.
All right. Take a couple of minutes break.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Yeah.
Hi, John, are you back?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. All right, so should we go into a little meditation, I think?
Yep, great.
Okay. Let's get the recording going again. All right, so just making yourself comfortable, sitting feet shoulder width apart. Cup your hands in your lap. Keep your back straight. Close your eyes. Start off with a nice deep breath in through the nose. Breathing in through the nose, notice how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Clenching your sphincter muscle. Just locking the energy in. Feeling this warm wave of energy rising up the spine to your heart center. Draw the energy all the way up into the crown of your head. Just pausing at the top of the inhale. And just check in and scan your mind. So notice any thoughts going on. Whenever thoughts are there, observe them and say to yourself that my meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. Since the thoughts of which I am aware do not mean anything, the world that pictures them can have no meaning. What is producing this world is insane, and so is what it produces. Reality is not insane, and I have real thoughts as well as insane ones. I can therefore see a real world if I look to my real thoughts as my guide for seeing. When you exhale, and just blow these thoughts away, the breeze of your breath into the nothingness they really are. It's like cloud patterns dissipating, shifting, changing, swirling. None of it's real. Clouds have no substance. And if you're trying to find meaning in the cloud patterns, you will only see a meaningless world. You'll see a world that's always shifting and changing. It's very undependable. Pull the lower stomach into the spine, expel the last remaining air out. Rest here for a few moments in the peace and the stillness of the blue sky of your true awareness. Beyond the clouds, this eternal, unchangeable blue sky. This is your pure formless awareness. It's beyond the meaningless world of cloud patterns created by meaningless thoughts. So breathing in again, to the lower stomach, blowing it up like a balloon. Clench the sphincter muscle to lock the energy in. Feel this warm wave of energy rising up. Spine into your heart center. You can put one hand on your heart just to connect in with your heart space. Bring your attention completely into the present moment by focusing it entirely on your breath and the body. And draw the energy up the spine to the crown of your head. Pausing at the top of the inhale. Again, scan your mind. Notice any forms of upset. So it could just be a minor irritation, a bit of frustration, ranging to intense rage, fear, anxiety, anything that's upsetting you, disturbing your peace. Remind yourself that I am only upset because I see a meaningless world. And then listen to these words from Jesus. Insane thoughts are upsetting. They produce a world in which there is no order anywhere. Only chaos rules a world that represents chaotic thinking. And chaos has no laws. I cannot live in peace in such a world. I am grateful that this world is not real and that I need not see it at all unless I choose to value it. And I do not choose to value what is totally insane and has no meaning. Very clear statement of intent there. So exhale and just let it go. Let go of that upsetting thought, the emotion, sensations go along with this by simply recognizing that the upset has no meaning. It's part of a meaningless world, part of my perception of a meaningless world. I'm upset because I perceive a meaningless world. So let me change the meaning I give the world, and then I will no longer be upset. Very simple. So rest for a few moments in the peace of your pure formless awareness. In the gap between breaths, notice how this peace arises. Then move smoothly into another inhale. Breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises, the chest rises, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Clenching the sphincter muscle, locking the energy in. Feel this warm wave of energy rising up. Spine into your heart center. Put one hand on your heart, connecting with your heart space. Drawing the energy up. Spine into your upper chest, your upper back, into your head, into the crown of your head. Maximal inhale breath. Pause at the top of the inhale. Say a meaningless world engenders fear. So notice any fear, any anxiety in your mind. Remind yourself that a meaningless world engenders this fear. And the totally insane engenders fear because it's completely undependable and offers no grounds for trust. Nothing in madness is dependable. It holds out no safety and no hope. But such a world is not real. I've given it the illusion of reality and suffered from my belief in it. Now I choose to withdraw this belief and place my trust in reality. In choosing this, I will escape all the effects of the world of fear, because I am acknowledging that it does not exist. And then exhale, blow all this fear away. Give the thoughts, the emotions, the feelings, the sensations of it, blow them away like a dark cloud, leaving you to the nothingness they really are. Blow them all out and just surrender into the stillness beyond fear. Beyond a meaningless world lies a world of truth, of meaning. You choose to withdraw your belief in the world and then escape all the effects of the world of fear. It cannot touch you. You are free right now in this moment of all effects of fear. So breathe in again, another deep breath in. Remind yourself that God or love did not create a meaningless world. And ask yourself, how can a meaningless world exist if God or love or pure formless awareness did not create it? It is the source of all meaning. Everything that's real is in its mind, the mind of God or love. It is in my mind too, say that to yourself, because love created it with me. Why should I continue to suffer from the effects of my own insane thoughts? And the perfection of creation, perfection of extension of love is my home. Let me remember the power of my decision and recognize where I really abide. So the power of your decision is to let go of this ridiculous, insane belief that a God of love could create a meaningless world like this. So blow that away and let that belief go with the breeze of your breath to the nothingness that it really is. It's going, going, gone. Nothing remains of the meaningless world that you created. Truth is, we made it up. A part of our mind that's separated from God or love. Part of our mind that is not true, that believes in an illusion, made up a meaningless world, now seeks to justify that world by giving it meaning, when in truth it's meaningless. So breathe in on the truth of this again, nice deep inhale, blowing up the stomach like a balloon, clench the sphincter muscle, lock the energy in, pull the energy into the spine, to your heart center, into the crown of your head. Just pausing at the top of the inhale. Remind yourself as you look within to your thoughts, whatever thoughts you see are images that I have made. The thoughts are images that I've made. So whatever I see reflects my thoughts. Say this after me to yourself. It's my thoughts that tell me where I am and what I am. The fact that I see a world in which there is suffering and loss and death shows me that I'm seeing only the representation of my insane thoughts. And I'm not allowing my real thoughts to cast their beneficent light on what I see. Yet, God's or love's way is sure. The images I've made cannot prevail against him or it, because it is not my will that they do so. My will is its, and I will place no other gods before it. My awareness is this awareness. So let go of everything else. Exhale, blowing it all out with the breeze of your breath. Letting go of any false idols, any attachments to the images of the world. Returning your mind to the pure formless awareness that is its natural state. Just resting here for a few moments. Sinking inwards. Beyond these ideas, beyond all thoughts, lies the truth of pure formless awareness, God, love, oneness. So sink into this oneness beyond the images, beyond the meaningless world the images have made, beyond your interpretations, lies the truth of your source. So let your mind go there. Let it sink more deeply with each breath into the source. Remind yourself there's really nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just breathe, relax, be still. Surrender to the source of your being for the next couple of minutes of deep silence. Any thoughts arise, seemingly disturb this deep peace, observe them casually. They're just like clouds drifting by. Remind yourself, my thoughts are images that I've made, clouds to cover the truth of pure formless awareness, the blue sky of your true awareness. So blow them away. The breeze of your breath into the nothingness they really are. Just letting them go and restoring your mind to this blue sky of your true awareness. There's nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, and nothing else to think about. Just let it all go and surrender into the state of pure formless awareness, your true nature, your inheritance, as today's text talks about. It's very easy and natural to be here. This is a state of grace. So surrender to the state of grace. Another couple of minutes of deep silence. So just coming back to an awareness of the body and the breath, the senses and the world. On the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils, clenching the sphincter muscle. Being aware of all these subtle sensations of the breath and the body. Bring your mind back into awareness of the world in this very present way, with no judgment or interpretation of whatever you think you see and feel and perceive. So notice any thoughts going on in your mind. If it's just empty, spacious awareness, appreciate that. Just the pure formless awareness, the state of grace. If there's any thoughts, observe them. Remind yourself that my thoughts are images that I've made, and so I can just dismiss them and let them go as the nothing that they are. So I exhale and blow these thoughts away. The breeze of my breath into the nothingness they really are. Pull the lower stomach into the spine, expel the last remaining air out. And I just rest here in the peace and stillness for a few moments. The count of 2, notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair, feet touching the ground. Notice what you're feeling with your hands touching. Subtle taste in your mouth perhaps. Notice any smell in your nose. Notice what you're hearing, surrounding environment. Noticing all these things from this very still, calm and surrendered state of mind. Without any attachment or judgment, there's no suffering. So anchor this very clear, pure state of awareness in for the rest of the afternoon and evening. So it is said, so it is done. On the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. Just take 30 seconds, a minute to look around, observing the various objects in the room around you in this very clear, aware state. Notice that in this state of mind, there's no interpretation, there's no judgment, and there's no suffering. It's just very peaceful, very calm. So to stay here, practice today's mind training lessons. I've given you 5 short breath breaks to practice each one. So you can listen to a few of those this evening, and then one more time listen to the longer one that I sent you this morning, which will guide you through this entire the whole lesson, all 5 lessons. Or you can listen to this recording again, which I'll post on the WhatsApp group now. So I think that brings us to the end of the session, end of the meditation, end of the session. Thank you, John. Hope you enjoyed that. And
Yes, thank you, Jono.
Wasn't too long for you, just 20 minutes. I'll try and keep
that was good.
20
Excellent.
minutes.
Yeah, excellent.
So no session tonight.
No.
We'll have one tomorrow afternoon and again tomorrow evening. So
yeah,
hope to see you tomorrow afternoon.
Yes, should do.
1:30.
I may or may. I've got to travel to the coast, so I'll try and be there, John.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully see you. If you're a bit late, that's okay. Just join us when you can.
Okay.
All right.
Excellent.
Okay. Have a nice evening.
You too.
Safe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, John.
All right. Namaste.